Hi, my name is Amir Boussani and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Argo Robotics. I had the honor to talk to Amy Villeneuve, former president and CEO of both Kiva Systems and Amazon Robotics. We talked about the role of mobile robots and their impact on the industry. We also talked about the role of visual perception and how it can enable mass adoption of mobile robots. If you had the solution for perception back at the time, would you have used that? What would be your considerations for build versus buy?
In the early days of Kiva, we were so focused on the algorithms around path planning and around figuring out which shelving unit had the right level of material on it to bring to which pick station and in the most efficient manner. We were optimizing down to the fractional second. I mean, it literally, we were very, very concerned about the specific algorithms that we needed to develop also for the specific use cases for our clients and then ultimately for Amazon. And perception was not something that we focused on. It was something that we would have loved to have had. At the time, all we had as an option was LiDAR, and LiDAR was incredibly expensive. It literally would have doubled the cost of our robot, which was just untenable for us at the time. So we instead pursued, we had a bump strip and we had limited capability of, we really didn't see anything per se from a perception perspective, but we had a controlled environment. So we ended up caging the robots and we made it such that we would have to, in the early years, we had to literally stop the floor if a product fell off a shelf and somebody had to walk out and go pick it up. So uh, for us, it did add inefficiencies, the fact that we didn't have a perception engine and the fact that we had to control the robots into such a known space. Had we had that, it would have unlocked a lot of potential, I believe. We had been asked numerous times over the years about being able to operate inside and then outside, being able to go deliver a truck to a food truck, a catering truck to an airplane on the tarmac. And we turned down all of those opportunities, largely because of focus. It's important that you focus on your market, especially as a small startup. But we turned down a lot of opportunities. And when I think today about what Argo could have enabled for us to interoperate throughout a fulfillment center, not just in that controlled environment, and using COTS hardware and software at a very reasonable cost would have changed the game for how Kiva could have operated more fully throughout a fulfillment center. So yes, I think it would have been a great addition. So where were you?
I think it's amazing how much you were able to achieve with relatively very simple sensors. I met Mick Mons a few years back, and he told me how they used the first sensors for proximity, adding more and more until it was reliable enough. I think it's amazing, the level of sophistication that
Yeah.
that Kiva was
Yeah.
able to get with simple sensors.
No, it's incredible. And the early team, especially McMounts, is brilliant. And the early team did amazing things. Small team, what they achieved is just incredible. But we did good enough. We did what we had to do to get it there. And that is what, when I think about AMR companies today, those that have tried to develop that aspect themselves, I think have sort of gotten it to a good enough kind of state. But is it really, right? What are they giving up? What capabilities, what functionality, what use cases and applications do they give up by not really embracing an expert kind of from a perception engine perspective? I feel like if you think today about do you build that yourself or do you buy that yourself? I think there's so much especially for a startup AMR company, there's so much to figure out in terms of the specific use cases and algorithms and path planning and navigate. All of that is there's so much to figure out there. Do you really need to also have to develop the perception engine yourself? I don't think you need to. I think Argo provides a great solution at that point.
I think you mentioned a few use cases, but I wonder what are the other cases that you think a higher level of perception would have enabled you to do in the logistics space?
Well, you think, in the early, Kiva really created the category, right? Kiva created the category of mobile robotics bringing goods to man and, enabling the pick worker to really optimize their motion. Again, in a very controlled environment, in a caged environment. If you start to think about more, even within a fulfillment center, more use cases throughout the building itself. If you envision the cages disappear and the humans and the mobile robots and autonomous forklifts, man-driven forklifts are all interoperating together.
Human and robot
And
living together.
yes, in harmony.
Yeah.
We used to have bracelets that said "Friend of robot, do not terminate." Yes, when they are all living together in harmony and interoperating, you could envision uh, you could envision a fulfillment center that is has a flow through it that is much more optimized than it is today. Even within, Amazon fulfillment center, there are massive areas that are planned off for where humans can walk and where forklifts can go, and a lot of wasted space. And Amazon is all about making sure that they are maximizing the cubic density of their fulfillment centers. And so that space, and if Amazon, who's arguably the top in this in the world, if they still have wasted space, you can only imagine that every other fulfillment center has a tremendous amount of wasted space. So to the extent that you could have humans and forklifts and autonomous forklifts and AMRs all interoperating throughout the building in a manner where each perceives the other, and whether that's, do you have an air traffic controller above it, or do you have perception engines throughout and sensors throughout that allow for that seamless interaction? I think that opens some possibilities within a fulfillment center. But then also going from within to without, right? Going into the truck yard, into the area, going to the docks, you know, going outside of the building, I think adds additional complexity that a perception engine like this would work well with. LiDAR struggles when you go from different light sources, right? When there's bright sunshine, LiDAR struggles. I think that a technology like this really does open up other potential. The robotics entered the world of fulfillment really at the pick station, and now can it proliferate much further throughout the building and outside of the building? And that's just on fulfillment centers. I think in manufacturing and other outdoor applications are numerous.
Well, we do
So
see
what
that
are
too. We see that
Yeah,
while in logistics, most of the automation solutions are for indoors, there's probably similar amount of logistics happening outdoors, right? Outside of the
right.
warehouse where currently robotics and automation is not really deployed.
Right. Well, and so what are you seeing and what are clients asking for? I'm sure what they asked for way back in the Kiva day, in the early days, they didn't know what they were asking for, and they were just looking for kind of simple solutions to solve some labor problems and increase the cycle time and efficiency. But what are they asking you for today?
So I think we can separate between new use cases and existing use cases. In existing use cases like logistics and industrial automation, the challenge now is all about reliability. Having a reliable robot that can operate and that can solve the problem in a cost-efficient way, and that the end customer can rely on that robot to solve the problem. It's reliability, it's also ease of use, right? The end customer want to know that the robot will be efficient and that he can, with his existing staff, control the robot and the entire operation. For new use cases, sometimes it's really about solving something that wasn't solved before. You mentioned a lot about the challenges in logistics, getting from within the warehouse to areas outside of the warehouse and having a reliable solution in our scope, the perception that can also operate there and that can also operate in dynamics environment. to operate, when there are a lot of people moving around the robot, when there are machines and robots and humans operating in the same space, and they all should somehow live together in harmony, as you said. That's, I think, a challenge that is not solved yet to the right level. Today, most of the deployments of robotics are in a very well-defined environment that fits the robot, and still not for everything that the actual end customer needs to be solved with robotics.
Mhm. So for you, do you see customers trying to replace LiDAR, or is LiDAR a friend or foe for you?
So LiDAR is an amazing technology. I mean,
Mhm.
it's extremely accurate. It's been there for a long period of time, and most of the robots today are still using
Yeah.
a LiDAR or laser scanners. The main problem with LiDAR is that it is limited and it's reaching its limit. It's
Mhm.
good at measuring distance. You can get good localization in a static environment, and you can detect obstacles at the height of the laser scanner. But it cannot really provide the human level perception that is needed. Only vision can provide that. The level of detecting different objects, being able to identify a person is impossible with a laser scanner, for example. So the high level perception will require additional cameras and vision-based technologies, and that's really what the smarter robot would need in order to be able to solve their future needs.
So when do you think we'll see widespread adoption of AMRs?
It is starting to grow, and you can see how it grows year over year. There are a few challenges that have to be solved before it will really happen. I think a lot is around reliability and around the perception that is required for that. Uh, some customers tell me that it's really easy to sell the first robots.
Mm.
It gets harder when you try to sell more robots, right? When they really understand what the robot can do and what it cannot do, that's where it gets really challenging for them. And that's really, for AMR, that's a real challenge today. To get it reliable enough, simple enough, cost effective enough to the level that customers will just buy more and more of these.
Right. Easy to deploy, easy to maintain, and make sure that the folks on the ground, the boots on the ground, are able to operate with the units as flawlessly as possible. Reliability is key. Absolutely.
Exactly. This is exactly what we developed at Argo Robotics, a visual perception solution that is robust, reliable, and easy to use. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Amy. If you want to learn more, you're welcome to visit us at argorobotics.ai.